Musings with Fairbairn and Russell. Hello and welcome to the Market Musings podcast, and as we fast approach Christmas, we are very pleased to welcome a very festive Darren Hazelwood sat with his Christmas hat on today's podcast to talk a bit of a review of 2020 and Panther metals, and of course what we can look forward to in 2021. So, Darren, a very warm and festive, cheery welcome. How are you?
I'm very well, Mark, and a warm and cheery festive welcome to you too, and Kenny, who I believe is lurking in the background somewhere.
Yeah, I'm a bit bah humbug. I don't particularly like Christmas, but we'll just get over and done with. I'll make an exception this year because of all the stuff that's going on. But no, that's quite a thought in my head, Darren. You sitting there with your Christmas hat on, and I don't really know what else you've got on. That'll just spoil the podcast. But no, it's great to have you on and talk about. It's been quite I was going to say traumatic, but that's the wrong word.
I think we could probably class 2020 as an interesting year.
Yes. Yeah, definitely interesting. So, no, I mean, I'm just looking at the Panther Metals sort of share price in 2020. I mean, it's had its lows of 2 pence and its highs of probably about 15 or 16 pence from memory. It's quite a journey you've been on.
It has been. It certainly has. We obviously listed in the January, and so, COVID very much started to raise its head pretty early on, and we all know the impacts that had in the market. And in fairness, there's a lot of people out there that saw the opportunity as well.
Yeah. I don't think it's distracted you guys from your progressing towards. Obviously, you've got projects in Canada and Australia. I mean, just for maybe some listeners that are not aware of the Panther Metal stories, just give us a high level overview of where the company's at just now with its projects.
So we come to the market with the Big Bear project with Annabrew and Maracay in January of this year. And within 2020, we've increased the size of Big Bear following some impressive mag results. I guess the biggest disappointment of the year for us as a business overall would be the lack of permitting for drilling on Big Bear. But that's in hand and that will happen. And I'm pretty relaxed with it. I'm well reported in saying that the issues that the First Nations had with the Spanish flu and so their concerns around COVID are correct and totally understandable. And we've added Dotted Lake halfway through the year. What we took on initially was a little bit of a coup from our perspective, and that coup looks stronger all the time. We took on the original Dotted Lake property, which consisted of approximately 38 cells, and we added a further approximately 130. It's a decent sized land holding, and since that we've just announced actually the completion of the mag survey on Dotted Lake. And that was very, very pleasing. Mm-hmm. We won't get all the we've only seen the raw data so far, and the process data we won't get until the new year. However, the level of excitement and interest internally has certainly gone up just from the raw data, but we have to put a note of caution with that. Over in Australia, We've just announced the completion of taking the Morolia project from Whitecliffs. Again, that moves the company up a number of levels. It's got some really, really interesting drill intercepts. They're on a world-class level, those drill intercepts. And there are areas within the property that has mineralisation at surface. They've been over 40 ounces at surface. over the Comet Well area, and that's never been drilled. And the indications are the gold is angular, and it hasn't been transported there. It's the source of this gold is very close by. So that really is a sea change for us, because that's going to be about building a resource for the business. And we've got Anabaru and Maracay up in the Northern Territories. And Anabaru, again, has exceeded what we hoped. We knew the Anabaru Dome existed. We're well aware of the Newmont discovery there. There's some debate when it was officially discovered, but we believe 1992. Mm-hmm. That was always our reasoning for taking the project. But it's a big area, Anabaru, 150 square kilometres. So we did the review, and effectively we've ended up with 4 exploration project areas on one license holding, which that's way above what we were expecting. And we've been to site. We've sort of done an initial site visit, pretty much a reconnaissance visit, and we're pleased with what we've seen. And we're flying mag there in Q1 of 2021. Mm-hmm. And once we've got that data and that information through, and that's the same for Maracay actually. We'll know where we're at, and we'll be able to get onto the ground once we've got that process data. So no, it's from where we started to where we're at. It's been a remarkable year, and I couldn't be more pleased with how the company's developed and the foundations we've now got in place. And I think that for us, the tough times of March and the lows around 1.92 pence, that as we say, that was COVID related, and we moved into April, and there was a lot of uncertainty at that time, and a lot of people have forgotten that. And there was a lot of uncertainty worldwide. We decided, we reined in our horns on expenditure, but we carried on moving forward as a business, and that was absolutely the right decision.
2020 for lots of people, lots of businesses.
We've seen
but
the
I think
recovery
certainly
since.
From Panther's point of view,
obviously,
I think
COVID has been the most
year that will be written in the history books. You know, I remember that photograph when at the London Stock Exchange when you moved onto that, and there's a picture of you there looking you just look satisfied. You know, it's like the end of that journey of getting onto the main market, wasn't it? Was it AIM? Yeah, the main market. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And yeah, that was a moment that was clearly very important to you, and yeah, what a transformational year it's been for Panther, picking up all these different projects and the performance in the share price. So I think for Panther, it's definitely a year to remember.
Oh yeah, look from my perspective, standing on that podium almost at the London Stock Exchange for the business was very much the end of the beginning for the business for me, and that's where that sort of sense of satisfaction come from, as knowing that we'd got the business onto a platform that we could start genuinely building it. And that's what we've done. It's a constant process. But I'm reviewing the business week in, week out. So it's just a natural phase. And I guess that morning in particular, I probably did allow myself sort of 10 minutes of a little bit of satisfaction of knowing where we've taken it to, and the opportunities that the main list will give us as a business.
Yeah. What I've also liked as well, Darren, is the fact that you've been pretty careful with the money you've been raising. I mean, you haven't been coming to the market for excessive amounts, and it's all. I mean, every raise I think you've done this year is the raise price has always been higher than the last. So clearly doing something right along those lines.
Well, yeah. I've made no secret of the fact that I want to control dilution within the business and within the model as much as I can. Now, that doesn't, I'm not naive to the fact that doesn't come without its risks. But to be able to follow the path I'm going down, you've got to be very confident in the business and in the people within the business. And it's only having that confidence that allows me to really drive the business how I see it and how I believe that the business deserves to be treated. Because dilution does have an effect. But at the same time, if you want to progress and you want to work these projects and you want to add the value, you have to raise money. This is not we're not in a business model that is cash generative and can rely on its own cash flow. And everybody knows that. So, but as a result of that, you're going to disappoint people. I think this raise that we announced a couple of weeks ago now, it is a real case in point. And that goes back again to me looking at where we're at on each project, what we can do, what we think the next steps will be. Now, you chuck a lot of factors into the mix when you're doing that. And I realised that actually we've got a huge amount of things happening and finance that we can carry on with. But there are areas that if we had some more money that have the potential to have fundamental impacts on the business. So actually, whilst by doing it that you're going to be disappointing some people, the overriding factor is that the business deserves that capital investment to enable us to potentially do stuff that makes the difference and can have a fundamental impact on the overall business and the overall profile. Because don't forget, now we've completed on Merolia, probably a little bit different, but we've got properties that are very prospective for discoveries. But excluding Merolia, we haven't got a discovery, and that's the thing that's going to really drive us. But the market on Merolia, maybe it's been waiting for us to complete, but and we've got to get the story really defined and out there. But Merolia it transforms the business, but it only transforms the business in the same way that a discovery at Big Bear or Dotted Lake or Annabrew would have. But what it does do, it just strengthens the foundations of the company, having no mineralisation and good intercept. So, you've got to raise money. You've got to keep pushing it because I'm going to rattle on here, guys, but it's one of my favourites. So, your corporate cost base doesn't stop. Those wheels don't stop turning.
Yeah.
And whatever those fixed costs are, they are there at this moment in time. And you've got to service those. Now, the way to service them is to grow the business, because as a percentage to the overall business, they become less as your market capital grows. So if you're able to put in a discovery, if you're able to find a really good property like Merolia that you can build a resource on, it's gonna grow your market cap, and that puts less pressure on the bottom end of the business on your fixed cost base, because that's not going to change. That's only going to change if you decide to change it, and so you're in control of that side of it. What you're not necessarily in control of is the market perception of your projects and what they are. So you get on the ground, you have to prove up those projects, you have to add the value into the projects. It adds the value to your market capitalization, and that gap grows, which is fantastic for shareholders and the business.
Yeah, just you touched on a good point there. Access to the projects. I mean, it's two extremes that you've got within the company. Obviously, you've got Canada, and it gets the extremes of winter, no doubt, in Ontario, and obviously in Australia, you've got the extremes of heat as well. What is the access like on each of your projects? Whether it's actually weather or whether it's dependent on whether it's infrastructure, roads, etc. I know you've done some work in the Big Bear project recently. I've seen a few tweets from yourself. There's now sort of pretty much access for the whole of the Big Bear footprint.
See, the Big Bear project, I'll go through them individually, but the Big Bear project sits on the North Ontario Highway. So it actually bridges it. So the road access to the project is fantastic, but they've just put a road in to upgrade the power lines that run across the project.
Mhm.
And that has to be able to take HGVs. And it now cuts straight across our project in the most densely wooded areas. So we can now drive 4x4s and it cuts the project in half. And that's stunning. And you've got year-round access there. But what you haven't got is year-round access to the ground. So in the winter, drilling, absolutely perfect time of year to drill. Absolutely superb. Because everywhere's frozen, you use the rivers and lakes effectively as roads, and you've got flat access all the way through. It's superb. But if you want access, if you're doing just groundwork at Big Bear, you need snow cover's no good for that. So it is kind of from May through to the end of November. But you're probably pushing your luck when I say the end of November. It depends when you get the first snowfall of the year that sticks. Once that's down, you've had it. So the access is pretty good. But so you define your targets in the summer, drill in the winter, and we're ready to drill there anyways. And Dotted Lake is similar, but it is similar terrain. And to get on the ground in Dotted Lake again, it's the same kind of season, possibly slightly less, but effectively the same. And so you want to be drilling there in the winter. Again, we've just announced plans to drill at underneath the 150-meter mineralized trench at Dotted Lake, and we'll want the lake to be frozen. So again, the drill rig can come across the lake, and it's only then about 200 meters from shore. And it's very, very, very easy access. But there's logging roads all around Dotted Lake, and that is a difference to Big Bear. There's not a huge amount of logging roads, but Dotted Lake has got it's a big logging area. So that again helps. There's a huge amount of logging going on there at the moment, and that's actually gonna give us access to outcropping. So we're on a bit of a run in Canada with some really good stuff going on that we're not financing, that actually enables us to build out the project, believe it or not. But I can't claim any pre-arm success on that. It's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah, I'd imagine as well, obviously, the closeness to the Hemlock Gold Mine, Dotted Lake has a good main road structure and power infrastructure within a reasonable distance.
Yeah, it's all there. Everything you would require is there within a reasonable distance. These aren't wildernesses, even in the sort of grand scheme of things. They've all got decent access. Big Bear more than Dotted Lake, but even Dotted Lake has got everything you'd require. Yeah, there's a house on Dotted Lake that we've got some pictures of from when we were doing our reconnaissance in September. So that gives you some idea of the access there. People have got a summer house and they go there and do whatever they do from summer houses on a picturesque lake in Canada.
All right. So moving from one extreme to the other, then, Dan, obviously we've got the extremes of the Australian weather, because it can get quite cold there as well, I believe, at some points. And I know in Victoria, I think it can get quite cold in the winter. So obviously in the summer, it's 45, whatever. It's ridiculously hot. So what's the access and the sort of the time scales where you can be exploring in Australia?
Well, if we start in the Northern Territories, Annabrew and Maracay, they're all on the Arnhem Highway. The Arnhem Highway cuts Annabrew in half, and Maracay is a lot smaller license. It's 10.5 square kilometres, and that sits right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
So the access there is very, very, very straightforward. Annabrew is largely the ground is largely under the Annabrew station, which is a cattle farm. The manager there, Adrian, we're in good contact with Adrian, and he's proved a very helpful, good guy. And the only problem you have in that area is the wet season, which is their summer. It does get boggy. Is the best description.
Yeah, I think it's the river crossings more in the Northern Territory. I think during the dry season they're just trickles, but during the wet season they're just simply raging torrents. And I don't think they really have a lot of bridges. It's more like concrete kind of sort of walkways in the river. Almost like a weir sort of type thing. I think that's the main way across in these rivers. So yeah, I can see why it's difficult.
Yeah, and it's not that long. It's about 3 months.
Yeah,
and you can certainly plan and work around that. And obviously, the more the project grows, the less of an issue that becomes as well, just purely by scale. If you're investing the money, when it becomes a time to invest the capital that makes it a sizable project, you're then able to put in things to counteract any issues regarding the wet season. So we're within reason. So it's fine. And and then you run the Morolia project. That probably the height of the summer, it can be hot, very hot. And so that is something that we're aware of, and it doesn't stop you from doing any work. We've been to Morolia in the last few weeks, and it got quite a funny video, but it's sort of 45 degrees, but they can still do what they need to do because the guys are used to it. It's what they work in, but the infrastructure around Morolia is it's world class. Eastern Goldfields are absolutely stacked full of processing facilities, airports, runways, the small towns, and it's built to support the miner and the mining community because that's what it's built around. And it's remarkable. I think actually, Mark, didn't you spot some stuff on Google Earth that surprised you?
Yeah, Google Earth. Yeah, I mean, when we were talking about it, I had a look on Google Maps, Google Earth, on the satellite imagery. And yeah, as I said to you, it's incredibly high quality, very dense, picture quality there on Google. Some of the best I've ever seen. You can really zoom in and see, detail on bushes even, and you flip it into like a 3D kind of mode by toggling a button, and you can even see the impressions of the existing mines, like the Granny Smith and the other big one in the area, which name escapes me right now. But it's quite a lot of fun actually to fly around that area, that Laverton area in Australia, and have a look at all the existing mines and even little villages, that have been set up specifically for companies operating there with their own tarmacked airstrips, and little tennis courts and all sorts of things going on, to sustain operations there. I think it's a very exciting place to be. I look forward to seeing what Panther can do there, and yeah, I guess you feel the same, don't you, Darren?
Look, to say that's made my Christmas is an understatement. The guys have reviewed the data. There's none of what we do has happened by mistake. And that's the thing as an investor you don't actually necessarily see. But it's to be there and to be able to have the level of information we have, but in one of the most prolific producing gold areas in the world, with an overabundance of processing facilities on a zone that we know is mineralized but is largely unexplored, that has the potential. We've got a mine to our south, a mine to our north. We sit between, and it has the potential to be 40 kilometres long. But if I can't sit back and just maybe for once the second time this year, the first time being the day we listed on the main market, I might just sit back at on Christmas morning and just allow myself 5 minutes before checking my emails of reflection. But then to a large degree, we wouldn't. I don't believe we'd have been able to achieve what we've been able to achieve. I'm very very cautious about this, but without COVID, because one thing that COVID has done is people are in one place. So you're able to nail people down. You're able to get answers. You're able to get go through all the processes. So in normal time, I think what we've achieved this year in 2020, it probably would have taken considerably longer to have got to that point. Mm-hmm. So in some respects, investors could be looking, saying, "Oh, are they ever going to stop picking up projects?" They've all got to be funded. I know that. You tell me. You don't need to tell me. But it's just purely that our networks have given us access to these, and because of the current situation, we've also been able to act on them, mm-hmm. And that's really a big difference.
No, that was a great summary, Dan. I actually think COVID is allowed companies to find new ways to do business and probably do business quicker. A lot of these, the Dotted Lake and the new Western Australian asset, you'd probably had to have done several face-to-face visits to get that over the line. But because you're put in a position where you can't do that anymore, I think a lot of companies, well, the ones that have been successful, have certainly used technology for their advantage.
Yeah, that's right. But the flip side, of course, is the financial and personal cost. I don't think we've on a broader scale we've even seen the beginning of that. But
yeah. All right. Well, let's leave 2020 behind, and maybe you can tell us what's going to happen in 2021 for Panther, or what you've planned. What you've got planned, and what actually happens is still in that unknown situation with COVID. So, what would you guys like to do in 2021 with each project?
Well, look, Dotted Lake, I think we should start off there because we've announced that we're planning to drill, and it's not without good foundation. You've got the biggest undeveloped platinum palladium deposit in the world to our west. That's Generation Mining. And then just very recently, you've got Palladium One Mining, that they've announced a discovery to our east, and that they are pretty close to us. They're only about 6 miles. Their border's about 6 miles from us. And they're waiting on assays from that core, but they have released the pictures of the core. Mm-hmm. And that core is pretty exciting. And, I'm looking forward to hearing those results. And we've managed to prove up historic gold results on the trench, and we're going to drill under there. So we're looking at pushing that forward. Big Bear, we know where we want to drill. We know what we want to do there. We just obviously need those permits. But even this summer with the work programs we did, we've got a massive anomaly to our north. That is total virgin ground. Mm-hmm. Now, actually, the anomaly sits right on the middle. It creates a triangle. So there's 3 fault zones that run. One runs north to south. One runs north to east, and then one runs east to west. And where all these run, it creates a triangle, a piece of land, and that is bang on where this anomaly is showing. And we didn't manage to get there, and no one's ever been there on the ground. We don't think it's ever there's ever been feet there. And we really are looking forward to getting over to that once the snow melt's gone. It's on top of everything else. We've got a Big Bear, So no, that's exciting, and we just got to wait for the permits with snow melt, and yeah, we're looking forward over there. Annabrew, Maracay, as I've already said, we'll wait for the mag data in Q1. Once we've got that, we'll be straight onto ground. But it's with the information we've got, we can probably go and repeat what Newmont discovered. That in itself, in today's market, is totally different, and it's a great thing. But we look forward to that data so we can start looking at these other areas as well, and obviously across that belt in Northern Territory, it's a world-renowned area for gold deposits and gold processing. So I'm looking forward to getting there, and sooner rather than later. But we do need that mag. And Morolia, we just go straight into Morolia. Obviously, we're a few days from Christmas, so that's going to be early in the new year. But what we will do is auger drill campaign, and that's all soils. And what we're looking at doing is extending the zone of mineralisation there. And if we can do that, if we get any sniffs, it quickly becomes a game changer for the company and the project, because any extension of the known mineralisation on Morolia will have a dramatic impact, let's put it like that.
Yeah. But, so what is the model going forward, Darren? Are you guys looking for joint venture partners, or are you wanting to put the drill bit in the ground first and then sort of wave a flag and say, look, we've got these results, we're here? And what is the modus operandi, if you want to call it that, going forward?
Look, that's probably the most common asked question of me, outside of how much cash you've got. And what that shows is, and it's the greatest respect to everyone, people need to look at the business and look at what people have achieved in their careers, in the industry and outside of it. And what we're able to do as a result is we're looking at moving every project along the value curve. Okay. And that may be, for instance, dotted. We're drilling a hole there. There's two reasons. One, we've got mineralisation. But secondly, we also want to have a look at the stratigraphy. So we understand what's going on underneath the ground. So not necessarily even looking for a deposit deeper down. We are going deep. It'll be the deepest hole ever drilled on the property by a long way. But so that we've got an understanding. And all this is adding to the value curve. So that I would consider anything at any stage on any property. I have to. It's my job. But it has to be at a point where I believe value's been created. So, for instance, at Dotted Lake at the moment, would I consider a joint venture? Of course I would. Am I actively looking for one? No, I'm not. But show me your numbers, and that goes across. That's reflected in every single property. We've got the experience and knowledge to know where we're at with every single property. And so the business model is basically, Kenny, creating value on every single project. And I know that's a real obvious one, but that's not always obvious to shareholders. But we can do that because of Karim's taken great grassroots right through to profitable gold production. You've got Nick, who's been involved in for Metal Tiger as their competent person in Botswana, that ended up getting taken over by Samphire for $258 million. So there's everyone's at some point's been involved in production, joint ventures, solo projects. Yeah, they understand the curve, and that is something that a real strength. And that's why I'm able to confidently say to raise when we need it, as opposed to taking a huge lump at a discount to then sit on the cash while we decide what we're doing. We know what we're doing. And, and that's the journey we're on. So we don't need to have that same outlook. We don't need to have that real heavy dilution early doors.
Yeah, excellent. Really 2021, we should be seeing the drill bit turning in several of your projects, if not all of them, at some point, hopefully.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's not just a stated aim. I'll be disappointed if I'm sitting here this time next year and we haven't achieved that.
I think, just going back to what I said earlier about 2020 being the sort of the history book moment for Panther, and I think it's great to see that you seem to be very much establishing yourself, picking up different licenses, bringing everything together, and I think next year's the year to go out and advance them all. So I'm very much looking forward to 2021, Darren, and Panther Metals, and I hope you can be keeping everyone updated with what's going on by RNSs and interviews and pictures that we got from Canada. Those are always nice to see. But yeah, I think 2021. I look forward to seeing what you're up to.
Yeah, the investors like you, Darren. So that's I think that's one good thing you've got on your side, that you're well liked within the investor world. And if I was to put a kind of a comparison, if you imagine, I mean, we're old enough, Darren, to remember the world of wrestling. You can remember that, can't you? So, to make a comparison, I would say you're like Big Daddy. Everybody loved Big Daddy and hated Giant Haystacks. All the grannies loved Big Daddy, so they did. And then they would hit Giant Haystacks with their handbags. So, yeah, no, the investors love you. So that's a big tick. If you've got investors inside, then that's half the battle.
Well, look, I'm not setting out to be liked, though, Kenny. I'm just doing it the way that I believe it should be done. And that's no reflection on anyone else either, because everybody has their own styles. Everybody's found their own way to where they're at. Listen, I'm the luckiest kid in the sweet shop. My dad owns a sweet shop, as far as I'm concerned. When I look at the board we've got and what we've managed to do and how we've managed to do it, and the only way I've done that is through the support of that board. But let's not. I'll always make what I believe is the right decision for the business at that time. And as we've already touched on, I know at times that's going to cheese people off. But that's the name of the game. We're not in a love-in. We're in an environment where I've got to create value for everybody that's invested in the business, because they own the business. They're looking for return. So, let's make no mistake here. I know where we're going. I know how we're going to achieve it. I've got the experience I lack. I've got the knowledge and experience within the board to counteract that. And it won't stop us from making those tough calls at times, as I've already touched on. But no, look, I'm always available to chat to anyone. I will talk to people about Panther at any time of day and night. I make no secret of my love of the sector, where the sector sits, and the opportunities the sector offers as a result of that. And I'll chat. I had a guy who thought I was in Canada and phoned me at 11 o'clock at night about a month ago, and he was really apologetic. That he didn't realise I was in the UK, and tried to get off the call. Well, I actually kept him on the call for 45 minutes talking about Panther. So bless him. He hasn't called me back since, but he's more than welcome to, because I'll chat any time of that. And everybody's welcome to give me a shout. Good.
Then do you plan to keep everyone updated as well, Darren?
Oh, absolutely, Mark.
Yeah.
That is the name of the game. Is the talk, the discussion, and I've booked in. We're doing Proactive on the 28th of January, which is a new format for me. So I'm really looking forward to that and how that all pans out. I've got to keep it to 20 minutes, and then we have 10 minutes of questions and answers afterwards. So where the business has got to. That could be a struggle for me, but that's life, and I'll deal with it and certainly get the message across, Mark. But there's loads of stuff we've got going forwards. into 2021. I'm really looking at expanding what we're doing and the outlets we're using to get that message across. And again, that's just a natural thing of reviewing the business, what we're doing. We've foundations there. We've got a really exciting 2021. So I have to make sure that our outlets and our ability to get the message across, we've got those platforms to deliver that. And that's exactly what I am doing and exactly what we will be doing. And I'll be keeping in contact with you two guys because I do like this format and I like what you do here. And we can just have a general chat, which is always nice.
Perfect. All right. Good stuff. Well, we don't speak to you before Christmas, Darren. Have you and your family have a good Christmas and a good New Year as much as we can this year. And we'll see you in 2021, I suppose. I think that'll be the next move.
Yeah.
Mark, you in, Dad?
No, I agree. Yeah, let's have a nice Christmas, Darren, and yeah, well, 2021. That's when we'll speak again. I look forward to it.
Well, yeah, look, guys, it's the same to you too. We're certainly, as a family, having a quiet one. And, you know, I looking at the latest data, I would encourage everybody to consider that. But, it's been a great year. And I'm very much looking forward to 2021 and hitting the ground running as well. It's going to be fantastic. But I must take this opportunity to thank absolutely everyone in the market, shareholders, obviously, but everybody else as well, people that have engaged, and even people that are just looking at the business. Keep looking. Don't listen to me and what I say around your investment decision. And if you like Panther, make your own decision on what we do, on our actions, not the words, because ultimately, the biggest judgment is on what the business does as opposed to what people say around the business. And I obviously, we try and correlate the two, and I think we do deliver that. But everybody out there, wish you all a safe and happy Christmas with your families, and look forward to being in touch and touching base with everyone in 2021.
Great. Well, on that note, thank you very much, Darren.
Yep, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. Cheers, Dan.
Cheers, buddy. All the best.
See you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another podcast from Market Musings with Fairbairn and Russell. Tune in next time.